In this episode, I sit down with Ronny Young. He's president and founder of Oddbeast, an award-winning motion design and production studio for some of the world's most iconic brands. Here's my interview with Ronny Young. And this is like totally topical, man. Like, what do you think about the new Coke spot and all the backlash they're getting?
Yeah, there was some talk in the office today. Kevin's got his cynical hat on. You know, did they do that knowing that they were going to get backlash?
And now everyone's talking about it, and it's right.
Exactly.
A weird guerrilla style. Right.
Right. He seems convinced that they knew what they were getting into, and this is just good PR. So I don't know. It's hard to say.
What a weird way if that's true, right?
I know, but I feel like that at that level, those people think like that.
Everyone's talking about it. I mean,
Right.
Of course, you can't deny that, of course.
Right.
That
Right.
being a true possibility. I do feel, though, that folks like Adobe and many others are using technology that is powered by AI that we would consider as plugins.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. It makes a task way easier.
Right.
Would you agree, or do you think there's a threat?
I'll get off topic for a second, but I promise I'll bring it back around. This year was the first year we hired a PR firm, which has been really interesting and good for us. And she just got TJ, our live action guy, featured in Ad Age. So TJ now has like an opinion piece or a thought piece in Ad Age, which is really cool for us. So big win for us, no matter what it says.
That's
right?
huge. Awesome. Totally.
Right. But in it, he basically talks about like how AI is sucking the soul out of video. And I think the TLDR version is if it's aiding the artist, if it's helping us rotoscope, if it's helping us do dumb tasks that we hate that are tedious, masking, like DaVinci Resolve has a bunch of features, right? Like the facial tracking stuff. I think that's fine. I think AI is great even. We want more of that. We want AI to improve our lives as artists. Where we get scared or where we don't like it is when generative AI comes in and just completely tries to get rid of us. That's no good. That is still scary. I think we still have a leg to stand on with the whole like rights. You know, these things seem to be trained on artist work that they didn't get, sign off approval. What's the word I'm looking for? Consent. If that's true, it seems to be true, then that stuff needs to be shut down. You can't make an AI model and spitting out these beautiful images off the backs of other artists and not compensate them. I think that should be illegal. So I don't know how that's gonna shake out. I think there is a bit of a threat. It might be overblown. I still see hope in our future. I think we'll be fine. Specifically calling back to the whole like clients being clients. They want to art direct the hell out of things. They want, for us, we do a lot of product stuff. So they like that Pantone color has to be a perfect PO1, blah, 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 whatever. Like that color has to be perfect. And, or this, the text on the label needs to say something in French now. AI can't do that stuff. It just can't. And clients won't stand for it. They won't accept it. So our jobs are safe for now.
Again, what I keep telling people are like, we've been discussing like the tools, the plugins that are perhaps powered by AI. That's awesome because then we can do our jobs faster to get to the end result. Ultimately, creating a better product and having happier clients.
We actually had a client today. So there's a project where we were going to use AI as part of the pipeline. So it's not the end all be all, right? It's not just AI and we're throwing it out into the public, but AI was going to be used on a small piece of this project. And because of the Coke thing, the client came at us and they were like, "Oh, did you see that? We just maybe we shouldn't." So I think companies are aware that AI has a bad reputation now and they don't want to be associated with it.
And AI has like a weird look to it too. No matter what it is, I think even, especially like with the generative video stuff.
Yes.
It will continue to get better.
Yeah.
Although some of the stuff in Photoshop is amazing. Talking about like plugins, but now they're just features in
Right.
Photoshop. Pretty incredible.
It is. I remember the days where, this is not like the most glamorous work, but I would have to do set extensions for like a model. So we do a lot of work for like John Frieda, right? Beauty brand. And they would have a picture of a lady with blonde hair in a purple background, and they wanted that image to be 3 times bigger or something. But the person doesn't scale up; they just needed more image to put text or something off to the side. And yeah, it used to be more of an illustration job where I'd have to like go in and clone stamp and brush in, and like you're like an artist. You're trying to extend that image, and now it's like it's like 1 or 2 clicks of a button. It's ridiculous.
It's amazing. Like I would have never thought we would see that day. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't even a thought of what's possible.
Right.
You know?
It's so easy now. Like, yeah, we're spoiled for sure now.
What's like the most impressive new technology, regardless if you use it or not?
Ryan Summers keeps talking about the combination of Rive and Unreal. I do agree with him. I think there's a bright future there. Some really cool stuff going on there. I think of John Laporte's Formula One stuff that he's doing now that he's on his own. Just imagine like sort of an augmented reality. You can watch a race or something sort of in your kitchen or your living room. You can watch the full track, and you can keep track of players, and maybe you can filter your own data with like your different heads up display through Rive. It's kind of cool. It's very Iron Man-esque. It feels like the Iron Man movies are becoming real.
What kind of cars now are you looking to restore?
Oh man,
do you have time for that anymore?
No, that's the simple answer. I just don't. I always think about. So I still have that 1985 Corolla GTS in my garage. It's freshly painted. I had a paint job done on it last year. It looks beautiful. I had the engine torn down, machined, reassembled at a Toyota dealership. So it's like, I don't know. It's being done right. It's just taking so long. And you're right. I don't have time for it anymore. I constantly have thoughts. Don't tell my dad this, but I constantly have thoughts of like, man, I need to just sell this. Like I don't have time for this anymore. It's taking up space in my garage. Like I could be parking in here, and I just let this giant, beautiful blue piece of metal take up this space. And yeah, I don't. I have 2 little kids trying to run a business. We bought a building. We're trying to renovate it, and it's sort of its own business. So it's like I don't have time for that shit.
The building you bought, is it the one you're in now, or is that separate from Oddbeast?
It is technically separate from Oddbeast. So we opened up another LLC, a separate LLC, to buy the real estate. We've owned it for almost 2 years, but it's being renovated, and we're hoping to be in like the next 2 months. And then Oddbeast will pay rent to that LLC.
Dude, that's incredible. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's going to be beautiful. I was there yesterday. We were given some tours. Like my parents were in town. They wanted to see it, and some other people just happened to be there at the same time. So it's kind of cool. We were actually giving tours, and it's far enough along where like people can see it. You know what I mean? Like it's close to being done. It's awesome. Super.
So
exciting.
how far is the space you're literally in now to this building?
Oh, it's only 10-ish minutes away. Like I wouldn't walk it.
Right.
But yeah, easy, quick drive for sure.
Is there ultimately an exit plan for Oddbeast, for your legacy when you're 80?
Yeah.
What would you feel so accomplished?
That's a good question. Maybe this will change when I'm older. I don't know that I care a whole lot about like leaving a legacy. What I do care about is like I want to pay my house off. I want to live, I want to spend more time with my kids. I just want more free time. I'd like to get back into the gym. So really it's more about like how can I benefit in other ways, I guess, from
Have
this
freedom.
thing. Yes. Yeah. It's really more about like, well, it's back. That book I'm reading, it's called Buy Back Your Time. And that is like the season of life I'm in right now. It's like I would love to just buy back some of my time. How busy is your end of year?
It's busy. So
Okay, good.
finished up with actually the Tyson and Paul fight on Netflix. That kept pausing every 13 seconds. So that was lovely.
You worked on that?
Yeah, I did all the broadcast graphics and the AR.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, there's a big game on Christmas Day, NFL,
Oh, nice.
which has been being worked on for the last, I would say 5 months at least.
Yeah. That's the stuff I got to figure out like if we want that kind of work, I don't even know where to start like cuz you were in LA, right? You used to be in LA. That I get the sense that you kind of have to be in town to even get any of that. But
It's all about connections and trust, period. You were just at the Clio Awards.
we were, or I was. Yes, a lot of travel for one evening. Yeah.
How was it?
It was great. We're not in that world a lot, so it was super nice to meet those folks, be kind of exposed to that world. Being out of Cincinnati, we do a lot of product work. So yeah, I'm trying to make every connection I can in the entertainment biz.
How did you move from drawing Spider-Man as a kid to motion designer?
Good question. So yeah, I was one of those kids, always drawing as a kid, just in front of the TV, pausing, like literally pausing VHS tapes to draw a scene from Ninja Turtles or something. Um, Went into college, didn't really know what I wanted to be. I felt like I just had to go to college because that's what we were told. So I just kind of vaguely thought I could be a comic book illustrator or some sort of draftsman. I didn't know what that meant really. Anyway, I found graphic design and I thought, okay, here's a career path that I can keep one foot in the art world. And then it also seems to be somewhat financially stable. So I started learning graphic design, liked some of it, didn't love all of it. So my last year of school, I got exposed to After Effects and making things move. And I really started to like that. So I was able to get my itch for the creative. And then I didn't have to sit down at a desk and design tampon boxes or Kool-Aid packets the rest of my life. So I really gravitated towards After Effects. And then you can only really be in After Effects for so many years before you get bitten by the 3D bug. It gets most of us, I think. And then once I got into 3D and got comfortable, I just really, really loved it. I think my old illustration days were getting scratched, like I was scratching that itch because I did a lot of product work. So a lot of 3D product work here in Cincinnati for Procter & Gamble and Cow Brands and people like that.
Did you start the 3D renderings and all that?
Yeah, well, yes and no. It's so messy. I feel like my first career job, I was sort of the jack of all trades, which we can get into the business later, but polymath, the name of polymath and what it means. But I was totally that guy that was like filming with a DSLR. I was animating in After Effects. I was doing a little bit of 3D. I was doing a little bit of graphic design. I did a lot of hand illustration work. I have custom like playing card decks from Bicycle playing cards. So I was just doing everything. And at that time, I just wanted a job. I needed a job. So it was like, I'll just offer everything I literally can do to this company. It was great. It was fun.
Did you get into 3D because you thought it was cool, or you were like, there's more work, I could get paid if I get into 3D? Because that's how my entry, like I always loved 3D. In fact, I started with Infinity, which was like way back, like in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I always loved it technically. But then at a point, I was like, I could get paid more. I'm only doing 2D. How is it for you?
I'm trying to think. I mean, money is always a motivating factor, but in this case, I think it was more of the artistic side motivating me. I think for me, the coolest things I was seeing and responding to were being done in 3D, and I just felt like I had to learn it. Like After Effects is great, but there's just certain things you just cannot do with it. You have to jump into some sort of 3D package. So I don't know. I guess money was probably less of a motivation to learn 3D. I think the coolest artists and the coolest art was being done in 3D, and that's what drew me to it. But when I freelanced, I worked for a company called Lightborn here in Cincinnati, and they do a ton of tour visuals. It's sort of their CGI bread and butter anyway. So as far as entertainment industry goes, I guess my biggest projects were for them, specifically things like Jason Aldean, Rascal Flatts, some of that stuff. It was fun, different work for sure. I was kind of new to it, a little scary at first. But yeah, it's fun.
You're freelancing and then you decide to open Polymath.
Yeah.
Was there a moment where you were like, I can open up a studio?
Yes. And it's always scary, right? I feel like there's never that concrete moment of like, oh, it's past time, I need to do this. It always felt like, can I do this right now? Should I do this? So it always felt like a little bit of a leap, I think, every time you make a decision like that, for me anyway. But yeah, I was freelancing for a few years. I had left my agency job, had a kid on the way, and I told my wife, I thought I could do freelance. I thought I could be good at it. I would do well. And I wanted to try before we had kids. That way, if I failed, I could just go back and get a job somewhere. And it ended up being beyond my expectations. Made more money than I expected to that first year of freelance, for sure.
That is an incredible moment because let's be frank, there are a lot of people, even to this day, who are freelancing and kind of go under the umbrella of like a studio, and now you can charge, exponentially more.
Right.
What was your focus with Polymath as far as like what kind of work you wanted to create?
I should go back and answer your other question a little better too. So there did come a time of like, I want to present as a company, not just a freelancer. And I think the driving force there was I wanted to be taken seriously. I wanted to take on bigger projects than anyone would treat, or give a freelancer. So yes, that's sort of the impetus for creating Polymath in the first place, turning it into a business, not just freelance. Oh my gosh. And maybe you ran into this, but when you make that switch, a lot of you kind of make some enemies. Like there's a lot of people that are like, oh, you're competition now. Like we're not going to hire you anymore as a freelancer.
Get into that, please. Cause that's really cool. I mean, you know what I mean? Like get into that.
Yeah. It's just even friends. I mean, people I've known for decades, since the high school days. It's like we would hire each other all the time. If someone needed 3D work, they would come to me. And as soon as I turned it into a business, I was competition, and that shit stopped. Like they, not cutthroat, but they took it serious. You kind of make some enemies. It's weird. It's hard. It's a weird hurdle. I think a lot of people have to get over. It took a few years, I think, to win some of those hearts back.
Wow. That's something people don't talk about.
It's so strange, and it doesn't need to be that way. I understand where it comes from. It comes from a place of fear. It's like, oh, there's another shop opening up down the street or whatever. Like they're going to take our clients away, and there's really enough work. There's enough work to go around to keep all of us busy, and we still hire people that we're competitors with.
You still need to make money. So there was a short time where like I'm still freelancing to make money and still growing the business.
Yeah.
I presume that there's a little bit of that or no, or you're just like, this is a business and that's it.
No, it's definitely shades of gray. And I feel like we're still growing and evolving, right? There was never a clean black and white break of like, now we're a business. There were definitely opportunities where I felt like I was still a freelancer. And even after I brought on some partners, we were kind of still treated as freelancers a lot. It was almost like we were 4 freelancers under one roof, which is an interesting problem to try to solve. But yeah, no, it's as soon as the business was created, a lot of people still treat you as a freelancer, and that could be good or bad. I'm trying to think like specifically bad in the sense of showing work, right? Like even today, we can't even show everything we work on, but it was especially bad back then when you were considered a freelancer. Nobody wants to let you show anything. And how do you sell yourself as a business if you can't post anything?
What'd you do?
You you have to go create spec work. Like you just have to
Right, exactly.
go create free shit and just hope that it catches people's attention.
Would you freelance for like a week?
No, because even if I wanted to, our operators agreement is pretty buttoned up on the attorney side. So really, any work that comes in is supposed to be funneled to the business, and we did that so that nobody was like incentivized to sort of like funnel work out of the business. Because that could just work against our own success, right?
And that also takes a lot of discipline too.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if people are lobbing big checks at your head. We want you.
Of course.
I'm sure if it were a special occasion, we could make exceptions, but it hasn't happened yet. We've just funneled everything through the company, and yes, at some point, there's trust amongst the owners here, where it's like sometimes I'm going to be busy, sometimes you're going to be busy. Like it's just all going to have to shake out, and we're all going to take care of each other. And yeah, just be aware of resentment and try to head it off if it starts creeping up.
How long were you running Polymath before you launched Oddbeast?
We we knew that we weren't totally happy with the brand. I think deep in our hearts, we knew we weren't happy with the name, but we were hesitant to change the name. So if you go back in our server, every year there's an attempt at a rebrand. I mean, every year there's a folder called rebrand 2023, 2022, so on.
Why? Because you weren't satisfied and you're just trying to change it up to maybe get traction, right?
Yeah. I think, to, I don't know, like make sure that people knew you were the real deal, to just come across as a big boy shop. Like I still felt like, we were kind of like freelancers, just, I don't know, just too busy to do our own work to actually care about our own brand. And that was the truth. We had the whole cobbler's shoes thing going on. We never had an animated logo, and here we are, a motion house. So
Right.
I don't know. That spoke volumes that we never had an animated logo for 7 years. That's not good.
What was the moment where you're like, okay, got it, changing Oddbeast? How'd you come up with the name? And I'm going to load you up here.
Sure.
Did you find new partners with Oddbeast, or was it the same folks, just new rebranding, restructuring?
That last one's easy. So same folks, rebrand, restructuring. We didn't bring on any new ownership when Oddbeast happened. But as far as how we got here, expensively, and we just, we made mistakes. And you still learn from your mistakes. So the money we spent on outside help, even though it might have been wasted, we still learned some stuff. So there's value there.
Consulting, you mean?
Or
couple, things like that.
A couple things, yeah. So we hired a consultant. We learned a lot from him, a lot of good stuff from him. I'm glad we did it. But he was not ready to rebrand and rename. Like his advice was not only to keep the Polymath name, but to change it to Polymath Motion. And that was his effort to like help us with SEO and just, I don't know,
not lose those 7 years of any kind of brand, right? Recognition.
Yeah.
Right.
He was like, you have some equity in this brand. People know the name around town. He didn't want us to let it go. Anyway, so that happened. We learned a lot of good stuff out of him, and we got a bunch of marketing tips and, stuff out of that. But then we engaged in an outside freelancer designer, who we saw his work on Instagram, had really good work on Instagram. We were excited. We went the, not cheaper route, but the less expensive route, thinking, let's save some money. We'll just go straight to the source, straight to the guy. He wasn't good. The work was just not good. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if
Are you suggesting there was a disconnect from what you saw on Instagram and his actual real day, everyday work?
My guess is that he got so busy that he had to bring in outside help, and the outside help is just not as good as he is. If I had to guess, we finally just decided at the beginning of 2024, we're going to do it right. We're done playing around. We're just going to do it right. We're going to find a good company. We're going to spend some real dollars on this thing. And here we are today. I think it was worth it.
Half Res
Yep.
this year in Chicago.
Yep.
That was really cool. Yeah, you were everywhere. That was cool.
Yeah, I knew Amador, which is one of the key people of Half Res, and I let him in. I said, "Hey, man, we're rebranding. I'd like to use Half Res a little selfishly here to help us spread the word about the new brand. But the tricky thing is we hadn't launched yet, so we basically launched. I don't even know, like 2 weeks before Half Res happened.
Really?
Yes, it was.
Dude, first of all, you would, okay, let me give you a compliment. You would never, ever know that.
Okay, good.
That's crazy. Anyway, go on. That was awesome.
No, they were super sweet. I love all those people. They were like, well, the rebrand kind of happened a little too late. We already printed off some materials for Half Res, and it has the Polymath name on it. I said, it's fine. I get it. We live in the real world. It's totally fine. My feelings aren't hurt. But they were great. Like, as soon as we launched as Oddbeast, they went in, they updated the website, they updated all the electronic media that they could. It was perfect. I couldn't ask for more.
And what else did you do that I think was a power move? You did some work.
Yeah. So Amador was joking around, I don't know, at the pre-party maybe, and he was like, yeah, you guys want to do next year's titles? And I was like, haha, yeah, sure, why not? And he's like, no, seriously, like Oddbeast is going to do next year's Half Res titles or opening sequence. I forget what he calls it. So yeah, we're on the hook for that now.
Are you not going to pay for the sponsorship? Because you're going to have enough recognition and people are going to be talking about doing the opening titles. Like, one could argue, I don't know. What are your thoughts? I'm sure you had to have had that kind of conversation internally, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the cost of entry is low enough that we would still consider it. I look to studios that we kind of aspire to be more like. Swarovski comes to mind. I don't know, Spilt. Then there's obviously like the Bucks of the world and people like that. Man vs. Machine, Tendril, yada yada. I know Swarovski sponsors a lot of that stuff. Camp Mograph, I think. Erin's all over the world. I would love to be more like her. I think she does it not necessarily for the name recognition and like for her own benefit. I get the sense that she sponsors these things for the betterment of the community, because those dollars really do go into, I think, the venue, the prizes. They give away prizes. Amador and Chris Schmidt, they put in a ton of work. Like, I don't know if they take anything. They might not. I have no idea, but it's not like they're raking in a ton of bucks off of our shoulders. Yeah.
Well, I don't think they are. In fact, I think by next year, they're going to be officially a nonprofit.
Yeah. For sure. I just want to be more like Swarovski, I think, in that sense of, I don't know, they're just great. They do great work. They seem to contribute back to the community. I think it comes back to them in spades. People want to work there. People know the name. So, like, it just all keeps going around.
I met with Erin a month ago. Erin is very generous, genuine, and very talented. It is for the betterment of the community. There really is that authenticity.
Right.
Tell me, who are the stakeholders? Tell me about Oddbeast and the work you create.
Sure. So I think the way the company has been built is a little odd, or at least it's different. I think
appropriately.
Right. It's different than what most companies would do. So I started it in 2017. I was on my own for 3-ish years. Then in the middle of 2020, right in the middle of COVID, TJ Bitter joined the company. Now he's my cousin, and he and I grew up basically brothers. I don't have a brother. He doesn't have a brother, and we're 4 months apart. So we are basically brothers. He had his own company producing video, live action video. And I kept sort of picking away at him. And I was like, when are you going to join me? I would hire him as a freelancer from time to time, like, hey, my client wants a video. I want you to do it. That happened quite a few times. So it really made sense, I thought, to organically grow and just bring him in under the umbrella of Polymath. And at the time I said, hey, how much money do you think you can bring in? Here's how much money I'm doing by myself. And we kind of structured the ownership split to be like that. Like I was bringing in more revenue than he was, so I was making more. But then I don't even know, 6 months later, not very long after, I think when TJ joined, that switch from freelancer to business happened more concretely. I think once TJ joined and it was more than just me, people took the business more serious. And I think that was actually very important for the company's growth. It was a very important piece.
And what's TJ's role today?
That's a good question. Head of video production. So anything involving live action shoots, photo shoots, people, that's all his domain. He's head of that. Whereas Kevin is more, strictly CG, animation specifically. He's not a big fan of stills, which that's where my strength comes in. But that's why we make a good team.
How do we find Kevin?
How do you find Kevin? Kevin's last name is Gottrod. You'll never be able to spell it. He's on Vimeo. He's got some pretty well-known pieces on Vimeo. Some people might have seen him. And then what's funny is later that year, Kevin's brother Joel was looking to leave his job. He was unhappy in his job. Basically, we had an opportunity in front of us. Do we try to snag Joel or let him go somewhere else? And we took the opportunity. We threw him some ownership stake, and now we have Joel. So those are the 4 owners. It's me, TJ, Kevin, and Joel in that order. And then, so after Joel came on board, I found myself now doing a lot more producing. Like I felt like I became the producer of the company. Like I was doing a lot of client phone calls, statements of work, finances. I was doing all that stuff, right?
All the non kind of fun stuff, right?
All the non-fun creative stuff.
But necessary. Yeah. I mean, it's a business.
Right, exactly. So I feel like the next person we hired wasn't a producer. We actually hired an editor, a very good editor. His name was Joe Sanfus. He's no longer with us. He took a cool ass job with the NBA. He's making like documentaries for the NBA now, which is super dope. But then the next hire was Michael Brookbank, and now Michael is our senior producer, and he's been great. I love having him. We were very guilty of being that company that loaded heavy on the creative side. I feel like a lot of companies, I don't know, they just have like a ton of producers and then they freelance everything out, right? That was never us. Like we were always trying to do everything in-house. Like 90% or better of work was done in-house. And we thought that that was a point of strength. And because of that, we didn't put a high value on producers. So it was me and Michael for a while. Michael's taking on more and more and more. I'm taking on less and less, trying to. And then we actually brought on a freelance producer, Gracie, and she's been great this year. So I think as we continue to grow, I think producers are going to have more and more of an important role here. We'll put a little less of a thumb on the creative skill.
Was it difficult for you, whether it was at Polymath or now at Oddbeast, transition from I'm actually executing, I'm designing and animating versus maybe doing absolutely none of that and actually stepping back, looking at the whole picture?
It is tricky, and I need to go back and fix one thing. So I jumped over Liam. So we hired Liam before we brought on freelance Gracie. And to answer your question now, sort of my goal was to bring on someone who I could teach to do the still renders, right? To bring on someone to take the creative off of my plate entirely so that I could be freed up to do, all the operations, marketing, sales, finance, yada, 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 yada. But what's funny is Liam has really taken to Kevin, like they sit 10 feet away from each other, and Liam's basically become a Kevin clone in the sense that I lost him. I lost the boy. He will not be replacing me. So I still get pulled into work. which is good. If for the overall company's health, it is good. For my health, I still need to find someone. Um, but yeah, it's hard, man. Like I still get in the weeds. I still get on the box and create from time to time. Part of the problem is I enjoy it, so I tend to do it. I tend to be okay doing it. But I know, or at least I think, and everyone I talk to for advice, that shit's got to stop. Like it's just not sustainable.
Every studio has a style.
Yeah,
One could argue you're hired for your style.
sure.
Okay. So, was there that moment that was difficult for you based on everything you just said, where you started Polymath? I'm Polymath. This is my work. This is what you can expect from Polymath. To hiring other people, where now like the visual language of the shop is changing.
Yeah.
And it feels less personal. It doesn't feel like you per se, right?
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you?
It's still hard. It is still hard to take your hand off the wheel. Another reason why I'm probably still on the box creating. It is. I think the only way around it is to try to find people that are as good or better than you. Because if you're constantly tweaking and revising, is it really freeing you up? You know what I mean? Is it really giving you free time? I'm reading a book now called Buy Back Your Time, and I'm sorry I cannot remember the author's name, but I'm really enjoying the book. And he talks about how if someone can do 80% of what you can do, and they free you up 100%, like meaning I don't have to work on that job, it's worth it. Just be okay with the 80%. You don't need it to be, your 90 or your 100. So it's always a problem. It's just something you have to work around.
Now, that 80%, let's say that it is freed up.
Mm-hmm.
What are you spending 100% of that 80% on? New business?
Yeah.
Operations?
Yeah. I mean, as I continue to try to like learn from other people and grow this thing, yes, I'm trying to figure out how to operate the company better. For example, this year we've adopted some new tools thanks to Joel Pilger and his community. And when I say tools, it's mostly Google Sheets, but they're kind of designed and built with formulas, and like they're kind of advanced Google Sheets. It's not like you just open one and start. But it's a way for owners to look at cash flow as one. So like I can forecast, all right, here's when we're going to bill this job. Here's when that money should hit, especially if you have multiple invoices per project, like you're not just billing the full amount at the end or something like that. So for cash flow, there's a tool. For the producers, there's a dashboard, like it's just got every active job, and it every Monday we can go through like a dashboard meeting. They can talk about the important things, how are the projects going, how's cash, are the clients happy, yada yada yada. And then those all those jobs in the dashboard link to their own sheet, which has a calendar built into it, has pass-through costs, has the total award amount. The producers know how much money they're supposed to spend. So basically, you're awarded, let's just say a 100K job. We only give the producers a certain amount of money to produce that job. They don't get the full 100. And then their job is literally to spend every penny to make it as best as they possibly can. Now, if they don't, that's great. That's cherry on top. That's extra profit. But we're building profit in from the get-go that they can never touch. They shouldn't ever have access to anyway. So with that thinking, they take their bucket of money and go make that project the absolute best it can be. Spend every dime. And if they hit zero and the project's done, perfect scenario.
What other tips have you found that have been profitable or make things more efficient or just plain helpful?
I think working on your business and not in your business is still that lesson that I'm working on. I'm trying to figure out. Earlier in my career, that was less of a problem. When you're a freelancer, you have to, right? You are everything. And then even when there was like 4 or 5 of us, I think you can still continue to be a little bit of everything. But if we're talking 7, 8 employees, if you get up to 10 or 15, like there's no way that I can do everything. I cannot, and I don't think you should. So that's who you have to hire. So the tidbits that I could possibly pass on or share would be, I feel like finding your team is always super important. Meaning, get a great CPA, get a great lawyer. Um, yeah, it's just, I mean, business mentors are great. I don't know that you need one right away. I would say try to do it without if you can. That seems like something you could do later when there's some cash flow. I don't know. What about you? Like, what's been big for you?
I think one of the things that's like so important, everything you talked about, but when we were getting into you got to be less hands-on as far as like touching the buttons on the computer.
Yeah,
That's still something that I always have to work on. For instance, I'll name them out. High, Wide, and Handsome. They're in Los Angeles, amazing group.
gotcha.
They consciously don't want to exceed X amount of employees because something happens when you become a really, really large shop. Do you even need to be a 50-person shop?
Yeah. We do have conversations like that. I feel like that conversation is going on a lot this year specifically because the industry is so weird. I was talking to Jonathan from Coat of Arms, and they made the conscious decision to scale down. Like they knew that the industry was weird and times were going to get a little shaky, so they made the decision to just stay lean. And I don't fault them for it, because we've all experienced a weird 2024, and then 2023 was even weird for some folks. We somehow, thankfully, missed it. We had a good year in 2023, but this year was odd. No pun intended there. It was a weird year. But yeah, as far as scale, have you ever read the Freelancers Manifesto? I think Joey Korenman.
I know about it. Yeah. Which part?
Good. I enjoyed the book. I think it talks about that where he was freelance. He started a business, grew it to whatever, over $1 million in revenue, had a staff, and the stress just became so much to the point where it was like, man, this is not worth it anymore. So like he dissolved the company or sold it or whatever, went back to being a freelancer, super happy. So that stuck with me, something to avoid, pitfalls, right, to look out for. And then I think he even talks about, maybe I learned this somewhere else, but I think it's in that book where he talks about 12 to 15 people is sort of ideal. And once you get over that threshold, you start to lose the family ness of it, like where everyone knows everyone, you're all very friendly and everyone talks. I like that. We've always talked about being, maybe 15 people tops.
In your opinion, what happened in 2024?
Oh man. I mean, AI, I think, is not all of it, but a lot of it. I think the election was also a big part of it. I think there was uncertainty with the election. The markets just don't like uncertainty. And I think what I'm learning as I get older is you just got to have the capital. Like the people who are investing in stuff, if they're spooked and they don't want to invest, man, that just does not come down to the rest of us for whatever reason. Like, or if they're putting all their money into AI and you're not in the AI field, well, that money's not coming to you. I don't know. It seems like it all trickles down. I think COVID, we're still rebounding from COVID. I know there are big brands that are suffering. I think I can talk about this. So yeah, it should be all right.
We can edit it out if it's not. You'll tell me after.
I think it'll be fine. Earlier this year, at the beginning of 2024, we were coming into the year with basically a verbal agreement for like, decent sized job, 6-figure job. We were excited to start the year off with a bang. We knew we had work. It was going to be great. We all went home and enjoyed our Christmas. And it was for iRobot, the Roomba manufacturer. And I don't know when it happened. It's like January, maybe. The EU, the European Union, busted up their acquisition deal from Amazon. Amazon at the time was going to acquire iRobot, and the EU put a stop to it. That who would have guessed, right? That decision by the EU affected my little company because suddenly that big project just went away, just evaporated, just wasn't going to happen. So we were off to a great start for 2024, and we never really really recovered. The year was fine. It was not banger, but it was okay. Now the end of this year is insane. We are so busy right now. I don't know I don't know if it's because the election's over, if it's just people spending money because the holidays are coming. They're trying to burn budget that they held on to all year long. I have no idea.
Exactly. Right.
But now people are spending money, and we're over capacity. Like, we're too busy right now, but we'll take it.
That's a quality problem to have. I mean,
yeah,
that's incredible. Right. And then to try and roll that into next year.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The conversations we're having now are like, how much do we want to try to just work nights and weekends? Are we going to give up our holiday break and just work and keep that money? Do you want to live a little less stress and bring in help and let that money go through the door? Like, yeah, I would rather have those conversations though than no work.
Of course. As your main role as president and founder and growing Oddbeast,
yeah,
what are the new categories of work that you don't have now that you're like tripling down for, and like this is a new category we got to get our hands on?
I gotcha. Tripling down, I would say, in general, our philosophy is like we want things to be cinematic and high end. So, Liam, the guy I mentioned earlier, that I was hoping to train up to replace me, he's gone headfirst into Houdini. Like, he's our Houdini guy. He's brought a whole capability now to the office, and I feel like maybe we're tripling down on this whole, Hollywood high-end pipeline sort of mentality. Meanwhile, like, AI is nipping at our heels, right? And AI is telling us like, oh, this shit's going to be easy. It's going to be a click of a button, and this will all be for naught. But I don't think that's true, or at least we're not there yet. You can do some really cool things with AI. Don't get me wrong, but I think clients, being clients, they want to art direct something so specifically, and AI just cannot do that yet. Like, you just can't. So if you want to art direct something to the nth degree, you need to build it procedurally and in a smart way, something that's flexible, easy for us to change and control. And that's not AI.
Congratulations on the new building.
Thank you.
Congratulations with Oddbeast. Please tell everyone there I say hello. This is awesome. Ronny, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. This is Bryan Grant, folks, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Brian.